Samoa Joe coming to the WWE, why Bray Wyatt carrying this feud is a good thing, and was that really Sting's voice or not? All that and much more. Keep it locked right here. It's a Sharpshoot with AuSSy. After 2 long weeks, the AuSSy can say,
finally,
the AuSSy
has come back
to the Sharpshoot. Seriously, guys, it's great to be back doing the Sharpshoot with AuSSy here. Thursday night Sharpshoot right before SmackDown. Every Thursday night right here on Rope Break Wrestling on YouTube. So go ahead and subscribe right now to us here on YouTube. Go like us on Facebook. And, of course, follow us on Twitter at Rope Break Wrestling. Lots of great news, rumors, and of course all those segments that you love coming to you right now to get you your fix before Thursday night SmackDown. Let's start off with some news and rumors.
Walks in with a medieval waistband, a rounding in your face, you get sprung.
It was announced this Monday that the first fan will be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame via the new Warrior Award. Now, the Warrior Award is something that the Ultimate Warrior talked about in brief during his Hall of Fame induction speech last year before WrestleMania. He said that the fans are such a big deal and a big part of the WWE that there should be a wing for them in the Hall of Fame or an award. And the WWE took that and ran with it. And this year, we have the first ever recipient of the Warrior Award, which is aptly named, obviously, after the Ultimate Warrior. And that fan that's receiving the award and the induction into the Hall of Fame is, of course, Connor the Crusher. Obviously, if you haven't seen or heard about the Connor the Crusher story, you need to get onto YouTube now. Go check it out. Really some absolutely tear-jerking, heart-touching, just amazing emotional stuff there from a young fan who was diagnosed with brain cancer and didn't have that much longer to live. The WWE took him in and basically gave him something to hang on for, which was WrestleMania 30. He definitely hung on for it, rooted Daniel Bryan on like the rest of us, and it was just an amazing experience. You could tell for him just based on his facial expressions and everything that went down that WrestleMania week, and really you could tell that it was fulfilling for guys like Daniel Bryan, for people like Stephanie McMahon, Triple H, just really an all-around excellent experience on both ends, and it's very fitting that Connor the Crusher goes in as the first recipient of the Warrior Award. Totally something that the Ultimate Warrior would have co-signed for sure. It's really awesome. Now, the reason I wanted to cover this is because there's a lot of confusion and people wondering whether or not the Warrior Award actually means that Connor the Crusher is indeed inducted into the Hall of Fame. Yes, it does. Basically, and what I've been saying on our Facebook page and on Twitter is that receiving the award is similar to receiving the award, the Ford C. Frick Award in baseball. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Baseball Hall of Fame, but a lot of, actually, really almost every sport has an award for broadcasters or writers where they receive the award, and in that they're then called or looked at as Hall of Famers going forward. So it is my belief, and it certainly seems as if the WWE is honoring Connor with the Warrior Award, which means he will be called a Hall of Famer, and he's definitely deserving of that, a Hall of Famer, more so than many of the celebrities that are celebrity Hall of Famers. So look at it as another wing in the Hall of Fame, rather than, Connor the Crusher going in, up against Andre the Giant or whatever. He's in his own class, as is Andre the Giant, and obviously all the other superstars. Another exciting story that's obviously going to be a spoiler. I'll say that right now. It's a spoiler, something that's going to be announced on SmackDown tonight. So if you don't want SmackDown to be spoiled for you, you might want to scrub past this a little bit here. Or if you're not watching SmackDown, just go ahead and listen. It's really not earth-shattering. You might have already heard about it already. The news is that Daniel Bryan is set to announce his entry into the Intercontinental Championship ladder match at WrestleMania on tonight's edition of SmackDown. This is really exciting news and interesting news as well, because for the past couple of weeks, I know myself at least, I've been expecting Sheamus to come out and screw Daniel Bryan over of his chance at that IC title match, and then to see a Sheamus versus Daniel Bryan match at WrestleMania, which I think I can speak for pretty much everybody in the WWE universe in saying that nobody wants to see that match. Nobody's really interested in seeing that match at all, and I'm glad it's not going to happen. With that being said, there have been rumors now that, like The Undertaker, Sheamus is going to be held off TV until WrestleMania, where he will then interject in either the IC title match or the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. So it's still very possible that we see a Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus feud coming up. Listen, I'm not the biggest Sheamus fan. I've gone on record multiple times saying it, but I think his heel work is much better than his face work. If he is to come back, I would probably be interested in seeing him versus a Daniel Bryan, just not at WrestleMania, not in a singles match. I'd rather see Daniel Bryan going after that Intercontinental Championship, and to be honest with you, I wouldn't mind him winning it and then the feud with Sheamus maybe, because that would definitely elevate the Intercontinental Championship being in Daniel Bryan's hands. The last bit of news I got for you guys this week is that of the Brock Lesnar situation. Reports are coming out of WWE that the situation between the two sides is not getting any better. Obviously, a couple weeks ago on Raw, Brock Lesnar was said to be backstage, apparently walked out on the show because of disagreements he had with Vince McMahon and WWE officials. Flash forward to the following Sunday, the following Saturday, he shows up on UFC 184 and raises tons of eyebrows. And obviously, speculation is running rampant that he is set to join the UFC immediately following the expiration of his WWE contract. Now, this being said, I'm not necessarily sure we can bank on one thing or the other, but it's said that Vince McMahon and Brock Lesnar are far apart on terms of a new deal, and it's said that neither side is going to budge at any point. So, I don't really understand this here. If they really want to keep Brock Lesnar, I think that WWE needs to make some moves. They need to compromise. They need to do what they need to do. I wouldn't mind seeing Brock Lesnar in both WWE and UFC. If that's what the argument is here, I don't see why WWE wouldn't take advantage of that UFC star power and allow that to cross over into the WWE. Same being said, I don't understand why Brock Lesnar wouldn't want to just stick around at WWE. I understand the fame and everything, the legitimacy that comes with UFC, but at the same time, WWE is paying you much more. You're working much less, and you're not getting punched in the dome. It seems like a very simple decision to make for me. I'm not necessarily sure what Brock's thinking is, but obviously Brock has, he didn't go out on his own terms in UFC. Obviously, injury drove him out of the UFC, and maybe, like Triple H said on the podcast with Stone Cold Steve Austin, maybe he does in fact have unfinished business. That remains to be seen, and we'll see exactly what happens and what unfolds. I do like the fact that there is still, we're still not 100% sure what's going to happen. I think maybe as we get closer to WrestleMania, something might come out whether or not Lesnar's going to stay or go, but I just hope that doesn't happen, because I really don't want to see a repeat of Goldberg, Brock Lesnar, WrestleMania 20. You knew both guys were on their way out. This time around, obviously, Roman Reigns is here to stay, but not a lot of people want to see him as champion. And then you've got Brock leaving. Not a lot of people want to see Brock leave. I know a lot of people do want to see Brock leave, but the same can be said both ways. It's really going to be interesting to see what happens going forward, and I'm definitely staying tuned and glued. And obviously, you can stay tuned to this show and to RoadBreakWrestling.com, because we are going to get you that information as soon as it comes out, if that's something that you want to know. But, I'm interested to know what you guys think. Should the WWE go out of their way to keep Brock Lesnar? Should Brock stay in WWE? Or should they part ways? Would it be best for both sides for them to dissolve the agreement, whatever, and move on without each other? Let me know. Tweet me at I am AuSSy, and of course tweet us at Rope Break Wrestling, or just comment right here in the comments below on this video. While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe, of course.
You the real MVP.
Now it's time for our newest segment of the show, which has really been popular. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on this show. It's the Real MVP segment. We've had a couple different Real MVPs on the show here in our first few episodes. This week is really an MVP that could be the MVP of the past month of WWE programming, and that is Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt is this week's Real MVP, and for good reason. Bray Wyatt has been carrying this feud with The Undertaker going into WrestleMania 31. It's said that Undertaker's not going to show up on TV in the flesh until WrestleMania 31. WrestleMania 31. So really what that means is Bray Wyatt's going to have to continue to carry the feud, and I already know that some people are, complaining, saying that it's getting old hearing Bray Wyatt, this and that. There's no denying it. The segment this week was definitely interesting. Arguably the most interesting part of the show. Was Undertaker going to be there? Was he not? I think going forward, that's going to be the draw to these Bray Wyatt segments. Is The Undertaker going to come out this time? No, he's not. Is he going to come out this time? No, he's not. And then before you know it, it's going to be WrestleMania, and he's going to show up. I think having Undertaker off the screen for this amount of time with Bray calling him out does a great job of helping Bray Wyatt, because it makes Bray Wyatt look strong as a heel. It almost makes Undertaker look scared. But obviously, the ultimate outcome is going to be the babyface is not going to back down from the challenge. Obviously, you can expect The Undertaker to show up at WrestleMania because, the acceptance of the challenge was basically made this past week on Raw. But either way, I think this is awesome what they're doing with Bray Wyatt. They're showcasing and focusing on his number one talent, which is the microphone. He's excellent on the microphone. He's cutting excellent promos. He's doing a great job carrying this feud by himself. I'm thoroughly interested to see what The Undertaker's going to do each week, how he's going to respond, and that's really just what I like to call compelling programming. When Bray Wyatt comes on, it's kind of a shh moment. Everybody wants to hear exactly what he's going to say. Is The Undertaker going to come out? And that's what his job is, to carry that feud in that manner. He's doing an excellent job of that. And for that, Bray Wyatt, you the real MVP. Some really exciting news for some longtime Rope Break fans. Tomorrow night, we've got a special return episode of our once famous audio podcast, Rope Break Radio. Last year, we did a three-piece series, the Rope Break Radio Road to WrestleMania podcast. We will be resurrecting that. The three-part series begins tomorrow night, right here on this YouTube channel, probably around 8 p.m. Eastern time. So definitely look for that. We're going to begin talking all things WrestleMania. We're looking for fan suggestions. You can head over to our ask.fm page, which is ask.fm/Rope Break Wrestling. You can ask us any question you want us to cover on this show, on React After Raw, on Rope Break Radio, on the Road to WrestleMania podcast, or, just in general. We're really receptive to questions on there, and we love answering questions and talking to you guys on our ask.fm page. But seriously, tune in tomorrow night. Rope Break Radio, the Road to WrestleMania podcast. We're going to begin breaking down the card match by match. We're going to talk about what should be done, what could be done, and, even WrestleMania's past. We're just going to be in an open forum to chat all things WrestleMania, and especially WrestleMania 31. So again, tomorrow night, this YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe right now so you don't miss it. It's Rope Break Radio, the Road to WrestleMania podcast, three-part series. Episode 1 is tomorrow. Now, with that, we move into our next segment. It's true, it's true. I have to say, I am absolutely astounded, shocked, sickened is another word I could use, for the amount of naiveness, is that even a word, or just absolutely utter stupidity that I have seen since Monday Night Raw in regards to the Sting promo, the pre-taped promo that was aired during Monday Night Raw. I cannot believe that so many people are being worked into thinking that it wasn't Sting's voice. It wasn't Steve Borden's voice. This is absolutely shocking to me. I'm confused. I don't know if I should be embarrassed to be a part of the IWC and to be a part of a group where so many people think that the WWE would go out of their way to bring in somebody else to record the voiceover for a pre-recorded segment. It makes zero sense to me. That logic is extremely flawed. It's not true. It's obvious upon listening to even the original deepened, pitch-changed version of the promo that it's Steve Borden. It's Sting. He's changing his voice on his own. I mean, it's a really simple thing to do. I don't know if anybody else is able to do it, but, very simply I can do it right here by going, "Do you believe that this is actually AuSSy's voice? Or is this Dolph Ziggler or Chris Jericho voicing over this portion of the show?" Come on, people. You really can't be that naive. It's obviously Sting. He's talking in a more intense and intimidating manner than we're used to on TNA and WCW. But this is the first time we've heard him talk on WWE. We can expect something a little bit different. It was obvious that WWE kind of pitch shifted the voice down a little bit. Sounded a little bit deeper, a little more demonic, but that does not mean that it wasn't him. Sure, I will give you that. There's parts where his voice sounds similar to Chris Jericho and Dolph Ziggler, but that doesn't mean that they actually brought him in. This is almost as bad. I mean, it is bad. It's as bad. It might be worse than when people thought that WWE was trying to make us believe that was actually Sting the week that they had the imposter Sting on. With the terrible wig and, wasn't even Sting's body structure or anything. People actually were saying, that wasn't Sting. No shit, Sherlock. Obviously it wasn't Sting. It wasn't supposed to be Sting. It was supposed to be an imposter Sting to send a message and to make Triple H look foolish. This week, it was Sting's voice, kids. It was Sting's voice. It was Steve Borden on the track. And, that's really all I got to say about that. It's true.
It's damn true.
Mail time.
The mail's here. Arguably one of my favorite portions of the show. It's mail time. Here's the mail. It never fails. And this week we've got some awesome questions. Let me go ahead and read to you some of the awesome fan questions that we have this week. And again, if you want to send in a fan question for me to answer on this show, that's another question coming in right now. This is outrageous. Ask.fm/RopeBreakWrestling. Go ahead. Take to it. Ask us a question. You could be featured on next week's show. If you don't want your name in there, you don't have to put your name in there. If you're like my man Jeremiah Golder, you're going to throw your name in there and your question is going to be answered this week. Jeremiah Golder asks, after reading your article about frustration over NXT, it made me think, who do you think Triple H expects more out of, the main roster or the guys down in NXT? First off, thanks for reading the article. He's referring to an article that's up on RopeBreakWrestling.com regarding talent being frustrated over NXT and how they're viewed in a higher light. They get more time, yada, yada, yada. Jeremiah, great question. I think the answer is quite simple. I think that Triple H does still expect to see a little bit more out of the main roster because that's where all the money's at. At the same time, I think secretly he's got, a little bit of an allegiance to NXT. That's his project. I think he probably gets, some excitement out of the fact that NXT is so well received and the main roster stuff is not always so well received. But that's something that, I really think he probably keeps to himself. I think at the end of the day, he really does expect more out of the main roster. After all, that's why they are the main roster. But with that being said, again, I think, he does expect a lot out of the NXT guys, and really that's really his baby there. So it's kind of his molding, and maybe he does have higher expectations there. But in my opinion, he's really looking for the main roster to do a brute of the work. Thanks for the question, Jeremiah. Our next question is an anonymous question, and the question is, who do you think comes out of Cena versus Rusev victorious? I have a feeling that Rusev will win this, and I'm with you. I have a feeling that Rusev will win it too, but then again, I have a feeling that John Cena might win it. Really, what should happen, in my opinion, should undoubtedly be Rusev coming out on top, and I'm not saying that because I'm a John Cena hater. I always feel the need to say I'm not a John Cena hater, because I think anytime anybody says anything opposite of John Cena or negative about John Cena, it immediately, fans get defensive. They say, oh, you hate Cena, blah, blah, blah. I don't hate Cena. I have a great deal of respect for John Cena. There's no reason for me to be hating on John Cena. With that being said, John Cena is an extremely established, 100-time world champion, yada, yada, yada. He does not need this build. He's at the peak of his career, ready to walk down the other side of the hill, and it's time to start building new talent. We saw what happened with Bray Wyatt last year, and I'm actually going to write a piece about this, going into a little bit more detail on RopeBreakWrestling.com. Maybe I'll have it up by the time this show airs. If not, it'll definitely be up on Friday. I really think Rusev needs to win this feud, because he needs the build more than Cena does, and it's not about him coming out as the last win. It's about winning at WrestleMania. The whole problem that happened last year with Bray Wyatt, really, this should be a second chance for the WWE and the creative team. Last year, Bray Wyatt, had a great feud with John Cena. It was interesting stuff. Fans were interested. What happened? Eventually, Bray got the best of Cena, but he also lost at WrestleMania. And when we look at sports, athletes are judged based on championships and whether or not they were able to win the big one. The WrestleMania matches are each talent's individual Super Bowl. You know what I mean? It's a once-a-year deal, and people don't remember what you did at Extreme Rules. They remember what you did at WrestleMania. People are going to remember what Rusev did at WrestleMania, and I think he's, with the whole Russian gimmick, I know he's the Bulgarian brute residing in Russia, with that style of gimmick, he's really only a hair away from becoming the next Vladimir Kozlov. They need to continue to work very meticulously and very carefully, in my opinion, with Rusev. If they are to drop the ball, he could fall off the mountain very quick, and I think he's almost there to the point where he's a main event guy, and I think a win over John Cena at WrestleMania solidifies that. I don't see the reason why Cena always needs to go over at WrestleMania. He very seldom loses at WrestleMania. And, you look at guys over the course of their careers, I'm pretty sure Triple H has a negative win-loss streak at WrestleMania. I think The Rock does as well. These are two of the greatest guys out there of all time, and they have a negative record at WrestleMania. So, I don't understand why John Cena always has to come out victorious at WrestleMania, and I feel like there's some sort of lobbying on his side there. But at the end of the day, Rusev needs this win much more than John Cena at WrestleMania, not at Extreme Rules, at WrestleMania. So for that reason, I'm hoping that Rusev comes out on top of this feud at WrestleMania. The final question we've got here says, or asks, what TNA guys, if any, could you have seen going to WWE? And this is interesting because this question actually came before Samoa Joe was effectively not let go, but before he left TNA. So this is an extremely interesting question, and I think it's fitting now because there are several rumors about Samoa Joe possibly coming to WWE. first and foremost, I think Samoa Joe has been on the top of that list for a very long time, as far as guys that were in TNA and we've never seen in WWE that could be excellent in WWE. It's been said that Triple H really digs Samoa Joe's work. I do too. I think Samoa Joe would be an excellent fit, and really, I don't see the reason for him to go to NXT. I think Samoa Joe could come straight up to the main roster. I think enough people know him, and I think that he could really have a great feud with a guy like Roman Reigns, two Samoan guys battling it out. You can have Samoa Joe come in there as a crazy heel. I think it would be awesome. I think there's this notion, though, that anybody that comes from a different company needs to be groomed in NXT first, and I think that's kind of stupid, to be honest with you. Obviously, some of the lower-level indie guys, or even guys from Ring of Honor, yeah, they should probably go through NXT. They're obviously fast-tracked, but a guy like Samoa Joe that's been doing it for as long as he has, he's been on TV, he knows, he's been around the block. There's no need for him to have to go through NXT. People say, oh, well, WWE does things differently. You think you know how to do this, but you haven't been there. Let me just drop a few names on you. Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, Chris Jericho. These are guys that left WCW and they came straight to the WWE. That was because of the level of talent that they had and the level of respect that the WWE officials at that time had for those talents. I think forcing Samoa Joe to go to a developmental territory before coming up would be a little bit of a slap in the face. But with that being said, either way, if he's in NXT or WWE, I'd be excited to see him. I think having him debut in NXT kind of takes away the flair and the dramatic of what they could do. But that remains to be seen. It'll be interesting to see what they do. Other TNA guys that I think would have worked awesome in WWE, obviously AJ Styles. Jim Ross has gone on record on the Ross Report podcast and saying, he really dropped the ball there. AJ Styles was kind of somebody that was included in the WCW and the Invasion roster expansion that they didn't choose to hang on to. They didn't have a spot for him. And Jim Ross even went on record saying that he regrets not taking a better look at AJ Styles. Really, though, there's, plenty of guys out there. Kazarian, Gunner, Bobby Roode. These are all guys that I think would be pretty good. I'm not a real big fan of EC3. I'm not a real big fan of Rockstar Spud, but there are definite legitimate talents there. Magnus, I think Magnus is kind of like TNA's Wade Barrett. I don't know if I'm just drawing that conclusion because of the British accent, but I think they're similar in their working style as well. But really, there's plenty of talent over in TNA that would be able to work in WWE and definitely hang with the guys in WWE. So, with that being said, I really hope to see Samoa Joe in the near future coming to WWE again. Rope Break Wrestling will keep you updated on that situation and whether or not anything happens, so definitely keep it locked there. Before we break into the co-main event sections of the show, I want to let you guys know that in addition to the Road to WrestleMania podcast that we've got coming up, the 3-part series, we're also going to be holding a WrestleMania Roundtable, which is going to be a live hangout show where we're actually going to allow you guys, the fans, to jump in on the hangout and talk WrestleMania with us. This is not going to be talk limited exclusively to WrestleMania 31. This is going to be talk ranging, anything about WrestleMania's past, present, future, anything. No holds barred, open discussion about WrestleMania in general. It's going to be Matt, myself, Alec, and like I said, we're going to welcome you guys into the hangout. It'll be live for the world to see on this YouTube page, so if you're a fan, subscribe now. If you want to get in that hangout, subscribe now, and I'll get ready. That show, checking the calendar, That show looks like it's going to be on Saturday the 28th. We don't have an official time yet, but stay tuned to the website and to us on Facebook as well as this show. I'll be sure to let you guys know when we have an official time for that. WrestleMania Roundtable discussion. It's going to be awesome. We're going to interact with the fans as usual, so subscribe here, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and of course, check the website and remain watching this show in the future to get your updates on that. Now, for our next segment, it's How Do You Like Me Now?
How do you like me now?
If you're new to the show, the How Do You Like Me Now segment is one of my favorites because it's kind of something that's normally a unpopular opinion, something that's going to get me some heat with our viewers, or something that just not a lot of people are going to agree with. Maybe call me names that might hurt my feelings or might not. But this week, the How Do You Like Me Now is probably a little more popular of an opinion than normal, and it's really revolving around Randy Orton. What I wanted to say is this week on Monday Night Raw, and really last week as well, ever since his return to TV, Randy Orton has been nailing it. I'm thoroughly interested in this Randy Orton-Seth Rollins feud, and it's not just because of Seth Rollins, but because of Randy Orton as well. Obviously, Seth has been excelling the entire year, but Randy coming back, getting vengeance, potentially getting vengeance or revenge, rather, is going to be extremely exciting to see. And really, the promo that he cut this past Monday Night on Raw and then, said, "Oh, I'm just kidding, Seth, blah, blah, blah," was excellent shit. It was very intense. It was very interesting. It had me glued to the screen. I couldn't look away. I was very interested and intrigued. And really, if you look in the video here, the intro video to this segment, I have a little spot that says Orton underused ? I really think that Randy Orton over the course of his career has been underutilized. He's really much bigger of a talent than he's given credit for. I mean, even if you just look a couple years back at WrestleMania, you've got John Cena and The Rock headlining WrestleMania, and where's Randy Orton stuck in a six-man tag match? Granted, it was with the Shield, but why wasn't Randy Orton ever afforded the opportunities that John Cena was? I understand that Orton, screwed it up for himself on several occasions, but at the end of the day, there's no denying that Randy Orton is one of the best WWE superstars of all time. Really, he is. The RKO is more over than some talents themselves. And maybe even Orton himself. The RKO is like pop culture now, especially if you guys saw that video of that boyfriend doing WWE finishers to his girlfriend into a in-ground pull. That was interesting shit. I'm pretty sure the RKO was in there, but either way, the RKO shit is all over the place. You say something about wrestling and people are like, "Oh yeah, the RKO out of nowhere." Back on track though. Randy Orton, extremely underutilized. I like his facial expressions, his moveset. He's believable. And really, the Viper is a perfect nickname for this guy because he reminds me of a snake. The way he's, in getting into this storyline with Seth Rollins on Monday night, pretending that he was pissed, but he really was pissed. It's kind of like you never know when he's going to strike, but you can always be assured that he's going to strike first, like the shirt says. So Randy Orton, very interesting shit. And I know there's a lot of people out there that say he's boring. Randy Orton's boring. He's bland. I don't like his facial expressions. He sucks at acting. He's a prick. He's a roid freak. Blah, 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 blah. He does other drugs. Blah, blah. Really? Go back, watch the promo this Monday night. And if you don't believe after that, watch WrestleMania 31 and watch that match steal the show, because I'm calling it right now. Randy Orton versus Seth Rollins, as long as Jon Stewart isn't there, will steal the show of WrestleMania. End of story. So, really, Randy Orton haters, how do you like me now?
How do you like me now?
before we break into this week's Sharpshoot, I just want to give you guys a friendly reminder for like the 100th time in the show. Please, whether or not you like the show or not, whatever, please subscribe to this channel. Please tell your friends about it. Share this video, like this video, comment on this video. Tell me I'm an idiot. Tell me I'm a douche. The show was boring. It sucked, blah, blah, blah. Do whatever you got to do, but let me know. I'm interested to know what you guys think. And another way you can tell me what you think is by liking us on Facebook at Rope Break Wrestling, and of course following us at Rope Break Wrestling. You can tell me what you think, and then I'll tell you it doesn't matter what you think with my eyebrow up like this. But seriously, I'm always interested to know what you guys think. And any ideas that you have to make the show better are definitely welcomed. If you're interested in sponsoring the show as well, that is something that can be arranged. So let me know by doing any of that stuff. So subscribe, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. And check out RopeBreakWrestling.com. We put a lot of work into that shit. And if you like the videos, if you like the Facebook page, what we do on Twitter, and the website itself, please consider becoming a patron of our site. I'm not trying to beg for money, but the fact of the matter is, we're just three, 20-year-old dudes that are trying to run this site by ourselves. You know what I mean? I'm on a ramen noodle college budget myself, and anything that you guys can do to help us out would be greatly appreciated. I'd love to have a backdrop for this show. I'd love to have real guests on the show. I know Alec would too for React After Raw. It would be great to interact with former pro wrestlers or current pro wrestlers or, just personalities in the business, but we can't afford it. We can't afford to book these guys with a 3-piece budget. The fact of the matter is we are just 3 fans doing this stuff for other fans, and that's really the root of it. If you don't want to donate, if you don't think we deserve it, whatever, the show is still free, the site is still free, there's still no ads on the site. We do what we do because we love to do it, and we're passionate wrestling fans. But if you can, please consider helping us out. $1, whatever you can do, is awesome. And there's awesome rewards there over on patreon.com/ropebreak where you can benefit from helping us. So help us help you. Become a patron over on patreon.com/ropebreak. Now, for this week's Sharpshoot. I am heated. And for good reason. Just like the real MVP is always for good reason. This week, I'm heated for good reason. Can you effing believe that they're going to flood this tag team title match at WrestleMania? I'm absolutely infuriated. Los Matadores, really? Really? I mean, I thought I was angry when Stardust was thrown into the Intercontinental Championship match, which was announced on WWE.com. I think that's BS enough. We had the Goldust Stardust build that disappeared. They were going to be in the Andre the Giant Battle Royale. That disappeared. Just absolutely stupid, infuriating stuff. But now they've crossed the line when they're adding Los Matadores and the New Day into this tag team match, which is probably now going to be the pre-show match. Because anytime you add 2 tag teams that have been off TV for months, I know New Day's been in there, sprinkled in there, but this is just absolute asinine shit. I think it's stupid. I hate it. I hate the fact that WWE feels the need to rush all these talents into the show. The fact of the matter is, it needs to be a good show. Matches need to be good. They need to make sense. They need to be logical. And forcing teams and talents into matches to get them on the card makes 0 sense. R-Truth doesn't make sense to me to be in that IC title match. They've done a good job integrating him into the feud, but it doesn't make sense. Stardust doesn't make sense in there. And now it doesn't make sense to add Los Matadores and the New Day into this tag team clusterfuck. Really, the feud between the Usos and the Brass Ring Club, or the Masters of the WWE Universe, or Kid and Cesaro, whatever you want to call them, that was interesting enough. Maybe you could have had a triple threat with, what was that tag team's name again? Oh, man. Demolition, Legion of Doom. No, the Ascension. Remember them? They got called up. What the fuck are you doing with them? They're completely left out of the show, as far as we know. It doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you bring in the New Day and Los Matadores when you could bring in the Ascension? It doesn't make any sense. It tells me that they're going nowhere, and it tells me really adding Los Matadores and the New Day into this match. I already know they're not going to win, so why am I going to watch that match? It's really just a match between the Usos and Kid and Cesaro. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't want to spend too much time on this topic, but it's infuriating, to say the least, because WrestleMania 31, the card is shaping up to be awesome. You've got Sting, Triple H, you've got Wyatt, Undertaker, you've got Lesnar, Reigns, which I know a lot of people might disagree, but I think it's going to be a good match. You've got Rollins, Orton, you've got this Intercontinental Championship ladder match with, Dolph Ziggler, Bad News Barrett, Daniel Bryan, even Luke Harper. These are interesting talents that everybody wants to see get pushed. And then you just water it down by adding people that don't make any sense to it. Why would you add R-Truth, Stardust? It just doesn't make sense. And I know I'm coming off as a whiny IWC darling or whatever, but it is what it is. I have a right to an opinion just as anybody else does. And I think that WWE pushes people into matches because they want everybody to get a piece of the card. It shouldn't be that way. Roll with what you've been doing. Don't all of a sudden 2 weeks before WrestleMania just start fucking sprinkling shit into matches that doesn't belong there. And that's really all I've got to say about that. It's been absolutely excellent being back on the Sharpshoot and being able to bring you guys this show once again, now from the new Rope Break headquarters in upstate New York. If you're interested in having your question answered on this show, remember, you can always ask us any question wrestling related on ask.fm/ropebreakwrestling. You can also ask us on Twitter by following us on Twitter at @ropebreakwrestling. You can comment on our posts on Facebook by liking us on Facebook. And of course, you can always speak your mind in the comments section below right here on this very video on YouTube. In the meantime, though, please subscribe to our channel. That way you don't miss out on any episode of React After Raw. You won't miss out on tomorrow's episode of the first episode of the 3-part series of the Road to WrestleMania podcast. And you won't miss out on things like the WrestleMania prediction show, the WrestleMania Roundtable show. And we've got some other really cool stuff coming up on our channel for you guys. So definitely give us a subscribe right now and tell your friends, because really word of mouth is the best type of advertisement that we can get. So without further ado, from the Sharpshoot, for the Sharpshoot, for cardboard cutout Steve Austin, for this Brock Lesnar poster back here, for various action figures in the lower end of the shot, I am your host, AuSSy, and until next week, this has been the Sharpshoot. Thanks for tuning in, guys.